Picture this. You walk into a supermarket to get a single item, maybe some toothpaste or a pack of batteries. 30 minutes later, you're walking out with a cart full of things you didn't plan to buy, and you're $150 poorer. Sound familiar? Here's a startling fact. The average American spends over $18,000 per year on impulse purchases. That's not a typo. $18,000 on things that weren't planned, weren't budgeted for, and in many cases, weren't even needed. But here's what's even more fascinating. Impulse buying isn't really about the products at all. It's about psychology, emotion, and a series of invisible triggers that retailers have spent billions of dollars perfecting. Today, I'm taking you deep into the science of impulse buying. We'll uncover why your brain is literally wired to buy things you don't need, how stores manipulate your emotions without you even realizing it, and most importantly, how you can take back control of your wallet. By the end of this video, you'll never look at shopping the same way again. Let's dive in. Before we go any further, let's get clear on what impulse buying actually is. Impulse buying is any purchase you make without prior planning or intention. It's unplanned, often emotional, and typically happens in the moment. You weren't thinking about buying that candle, those shoes, or that kitchen gadget 5 minutes before you saw it, but suddenly it feels like you absolutely need it. And here's the thing, impulse buying isn't some rare phenomenon that only affects people with poor self-control. According to research, nearly 90% of shoppers make impulse purchases. That means almost everyone does it. The difference is just in frequency and amount. Now you might be thinking, what's the big deal? So I buy a few extra things here and there. But when you add it all up, impulse purchases account for 40 to 80% of all purchases, depending on the product category. In some cases, like grocery shopping or online browsing, that number skews even higher. In today's world, impulse buying has become more dangerous than ever before. We live in an era of one-click purchases, infinite scroll, targeted ads, and 24/7 access to shopping. Your phone isn't just a communication device, it's a portal to thousands of stores that know exactly how to push your buttons. And that's what makes understanding the psychology behind impulse buying so critical. Because once you understand how it works, you can recognize the triggers, resist the manipulation, and make financial decisions that actually align with your goals. So let's break down exactly what's happening inside your brain and inside the stores that makes impulse buying so irresistible. To understand impulse buying, we need to start with the brain. Human beings are not rational creatures. We like to think we are. We tell ourselves that we make logical, well-thought-out decisions based on facts and reason. But neuroscience tells a very different story. Our brains are wired for survival, not for financial responsibility. And one of the key survival mechanisms we have is something called the reward system. This system releases a chemical called dopamine whenever we experience something pleasurable. Whether that's eating food, spending time with loved ones, or yes, buying something new. Here's where it gets tricky. Your brain doesn't distinguish between needs and wants. When you see something appealing, a trendy jacket, a gadget on sale, a beautifully packaged skincare product, your brain releases dopamine in anticipation of the reward. You get a little hit of pleasure just from imagining yourself owning that item. And that feeling, it's addictive. Retailers know this. They've spent decades studying consumer psychology. And they've built entire business models around triggering your dopamine response. Everything from store layouts to product packaging to the music playing in the background is designed to make you feel good and to associate that good feeling with buying. But there's another layer to this. Impulse buying is deeply tied to our emotions. Think about the last time you made an impulse purchase. What were you feeling at that moment? Were you stressed, bored, excited? Maybe you were feeling a little down and wanted to cheer yourself up. Or maybe you were celebrating something and wanted to treat yourself. Research shows that our emotional state has a massive impact on our spending behavior. When we're feeling negative emotions like stress, sadness, or anxiety, we're more likely to seek out quick fixes. And shopping provides that instant gratification. It's a form of self-soothing, a way to distract ourselves from uncomfortable feelings. On the flip side, positive emotions can also trigger impulse buying. When we're happy or excited, we tend to be more optimistic and less concerned about consequences. We think, I deserve this, or I've been working so hard, why not? So whether you're feeling up or down, your emotions are working against your wallet. But here's the real challenge. Impulse buying isn't just a problem for consumers. It's also a challenge for retailers, though for very different reasons. For consumers, the consequences are clear. Financial stress, mounting debt, cluttered homes, and the gnawing feeling of buyer's remorse. That rush of dopamine fades quickly, and you're left with a credit card bill and a closet full of things you don't use. For retailers, the challenge is finding the sweet spot between encouraging impulse purchases and maintaining customer trust. Push too hard and customers feel manipulated. They might make a purchase in the moment, but they won't come back. The goal is to create an environment that feels natural, where customers genuinely believe they're making their own decisions, even when they're being subtly guided. And that's exactly what makes impulse buying so insidious. It doesn't feel like manipulation, it feels like choice. Now let's get into the meat of it. What are the specific triggers that cause impulse buying? I'm going to break this down into three major categories: emotional triggers, environmental triggers, and social triggers. Emotional triggers. We've already touched on this, but let's go deeper. Emotional spending is driven by what psychologists call affect-driven purchasing. Essentially, your feelings in the moment override your rational thinking. You're not buying the product for its utility, you're buying it for how it makes you feel. Let's look at some common emotional triggers. Stress and anxiety. When you're overwhelmed, your brain seeks relief. Shopping provides a temporary escape. You're focused on the product, the transaction, the possibility of something new. And for a few minutes, you're not thinking about your problems. This is why people often joke about retail therapy. It's a real coping mechanism, even if it's an unhealthy one. Boredom. When you're bored, you're looking for stimulation. Browsing online stores or wandering through a mall gives your brain something to do. And because you're not engaged in anything meaningful, your defenses are down. You're more likely to make impulsive decisions because you're not really paying attention to the consequences. Sadness or loneliness. Buying something new can create a temporary sense of connection or happiness. There's research showing that people who feel socially isolated are more likely to engage in impulse buying as a way to fill the emotional void. Excitement or celebration. Positive emotions can be just as dangerous. When you're in a good mood, you're more optimistic, more generous with yourself, and less likely to think critically about whether you actually need something. The common thread here is that emotional spending is about seeking immediate gratification. It's about feeling better right now, not about long-term satisfaction or financial health. Environmental triggers. Now let's talk about the physical and digital environments that encourage impulse buying. Retailers are masters of environmental psychology, and they use every trick in the book to get you to spend more. Store layouts. Ever notice how stores like IKEA or Costco are designed like mazes? You can't just grab what you need and leave. You have to walk through the entire store, past dozens of tempting displays. This is called the Gruen effect, named after architect Victor Gruen, who designed shopping malls to be deliberately disorienting. The goal is to expose you to as many products as possible, increasing the chances you'll make an unplanned purchase. Product placement. The products at eye level, those are the ones the store wants you to buy. They're often more expensive or have higher profit margins. Meanwhile, cheaper alternatives are placed lower, where you have to bend down to see them. And impulse buy items, candy, magazines, small gadgets, are always near the checkout, where you're waiting in line with nothing to do but look around. Lighting and music. Soft lighting and slow music make you feel relaxed and encourage you to browse longer. Bright lighting and fast music create a sense of urgency. Both strategies are designed to influence your behavior without you realizing it. Scarcity tactics. Only 2 left in stock. Limited time offer. Sale ends tonight. These phrases create a sense of urgency and scarcity. Your brain perceives the product as more valuable because it might not be available later, and you're more likely to buy it on the spot rather than thinking it over. Online design. E-commerce sites use similar tactics. One-click purchasing removes friction from the buying process. Personalized recommendations make you feel like the site understands you. Flash sales and countdown timers create urgency. An infinite scroll keeps you browsing longer, exposing you to more products. All of these environmental factors work together to lower your resistance and make buying feel easy, natural, and even exciting. Social triggers. Humans are social creatures, and we're deeply influenced by the people around us, even when we don't realize it. Social proof. When we see other people buying or owning something, we assume it must be good. This is why online reviews, testimonials, and user-generated content are so powerful. If everyone else is buying it, it feels safe and validated. FOMO, fear of missing out. Social media has amplified this to an extreme degree. When you see influencers or friends posting about new purchases, experiences, or trends, you feel pressure to keep up. You don't want to be left out or left behind. Peer pressure. Shopping with friends or family can increase impulse buying. You're more likely to buy something if someone else encourages you, or if you don't want to seem cheap or indecisive. Influencer marketing. This is one of the most effective tools in modern retail. Influencers create aspirational lifestyles, and their followers want to emulate them. When an influencer promotes a product, it doesn't feel like an ad. It feels like a recommendation from a friend, and that's incredibly persuasive. Social triggers tap into our need for belonging and validation. We buy things not just because we want them, but because we want to fit in, be admired, or feel like we're part of something. Now here's where things get really interesting and a little unsettling. Let me share a case study that perfectly illustrates the power of marketing tactics on impulse buying. The story of Target's predictive analytics. A few years ago, Target made headlines when it was revealed that the company was using data analytics to predict when customers were pregnant, sometimes even before they told anyone. Here's how it worked. Target tracked purchasing patterns and identified certain products that women typically bought during pregnancy. Unscented lotion, vitamin supplements, large purses. By analyzing these patterns, Target's algorithms could assign a pregnancy prediction score and send targeted coupons for baby-related products to those customers. In one famous case, a father stormed into a Target store, furious that his teenage daughter had been sent coupons for baby clothes and cribs. He demanded to speak to a manager and complained about the company encouraging teen pregnancy. A week later, he called to apologize. His daughter was pregnant, and Target had figured it out before he did. Now, whether that specific story is entirely true or partly urban legend, the underlying reality is absolutely real. Retailers know more about your habits, preferences, and vulnerabilities than you might think, and they use that information to influence your behavior. Target's strategy wasn't just about sending coupons. It was about creating impulse buying opportunities at a time when customers were emotionally vulnerable and making major life changes. New parents are overwhelmed, sleep-deprived, and desperate for anything that might make their lives easier. They're prime targets for impulse purchases. This is the dark side of marketing. Companies use sophisticated algorithms, psychological research, and behavioral data to manipulate your decision-making. And the scariest part, it works. Another example, have you ever abandoned an online shopping cart only to receive an email an hour later reminding you about the items you left behind, sometimes with a discount code to sweeten the deal? That's not customer service. That's a carefully designed tactic to recapture lost sales by triggering urgency and FOMO. Or consider the rise of buy now, pay later services like Afterpay and Klarna. These services make expensive purchases feel affordable by breaking them into smaller payments. Your brain focuses on the small payment, only $25 a month, rather than the total cost. This removes the psychological barrier of a large purchase and makes impulse buying easier than ever. The point is this: the impulse buying economy is built on understanding your weaknesses and exploiting them, and it's incredibly effective. But here's the good news. Once you understand how these tactics work, you can defend yourself against them. Let's bring this all together. Impulse buying is driven by a complex mix of psychological, emotional, environmental, and social factors. Your brain is wired to seek pleasure and avoid pain, and retailers have mastered the art of triggering those responses. Emotional triggers, stress, boredom, sadness, excitement, make you vulnerable to quick fixes and instant gratification. Shopping provides that dopamine hit your brain craves, even if the satisfaction is temporary. Environmental triggers, store layouts, product placement, lighting, music, scarcity tactics are designed to lower your resistance and make buying feel effortless. Whether you're in a physical store or browsing online, you're being subtly guided towards spending more. Social triggers, peer pressure, FOMO, influencer marketing, tap into your need for belonging and validation. You're not just buying products, you're buying identity, status, and connection. In marketing tactics, they're more sophisticated than ever. Companies use data, algorithms, and psychological research to predict your behavior and influence your decisions in ways you don't even notice. So what can you do about it? First, awareness is half the battle. Now that you know how impulse buying works, you can start recognizing the triggers in real time. When you feel that sudden urge to buy something, pause and ask yourself, am I actually responding to a need, or am I being manipulated by my emotions or environment? Second, implement practical strategies to protect yourself. Here are a few. The 24-hour rule. If you want to buy something that wasn't on your list, wait 24 hours. If you still want it the next day and you can afford it, go ahead. But chances are the urge will have passed. Unsubscribe and unfollow. Remove temptation by unsubscribing from promotional emails and unfollowing brands and influencers that trigger your spending. Shop with a list. Before you go to a store or browse online, make a list of exactly what you need. Stick to it. Don't allow yourself to deviate. Avoid shopping as entertainment. If you're bored or stressed, find healthier ways to cope. Go for a walk, call a friend, read a book. Don't use shopping as a default activity. Track your spending. Awareness of where your money is going can be a powerful deterrent. Use a budgeting app or simply review your bank statements regularly. Identify your emotional triggers. Pay attention to when and why you're most likely to make impulse purchases. Are you stress shopping after work? Boredom shopping on weekends? Once you identify your patterns, you can create strategies to interrupt them. Third, reframe your relationship with money. Instead of seeing saving as deprivation, see it as empowerment. Every dollar you don't spend impulsively is a dollar you can use towards something that truly matters to you. A vacation, a down payment on a house, financial security, or early retirement. Impulse buying isn't a character flaw. It's a natural human response to a carefully engineered system designed to make you spend. But with awareness, intention, and a few practical strategies, you can take back control. All right, now I want to hear from you. What's the most ridiculous impulse purchase you've ever made? Was it something you regretted immediately, or did it turn out to be surprisingly helpful? Drop your story in the comments, I promise. We're all in this together, and there's no judgment here. Some of my best impulse buys have been my worst financial decisions, and some of my worst impulse buys have become things I use every day. Life is weird like that. Also, here's a challenge for you. Try implementing just one of the strategies I mentioned today. Pick the one that resonates most with you. Maybe it's the 24-hour rule. Maybe it's unsubscribing from marketing emails. Maybe it's tracking your spending. Commit to it for 1 week and see what happens. I bet you'll be surprised by how much awareness and control you gain. And if you found this video helpful, do me a favor. Hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. We're building a community of people who want to make smarter financial decisions and take control of their money, and I'd love for you to be part of it. I've also got another video that pairs perfectly with this one. It's all about smart shopping tips and how to get the most value out of every dollar you spend. I'll link it in the description and in the card above. Definitely check it out if you want to level up your shopping game even more. Thanks so much for watching. Remember, your money is a tool, not a toy. Use it wisely, spend it intentionally, and build the life you actually want, not the life advertisers want you to want. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.